All right, today we're going to cover paint viscosity cups. We're going to cover how to choose one that'll work well for your particular paint, how to use different cups to get a measurement on any paint that you may need, cross-reference charts to determine viscosity if you have a certain cup and another cup is what's mentioned as a timing, and how to use the cup to determine how thick a paint is. We'll also show you why the paint viscosity cup is so helpful in achieving a good finish, so you can know how to use it as a tool in your painting arsenal. So when we use a paint viscosity cup, for example, this is a Zahn cup, you fill the cup to the top with paint, and then you begin to pull it out of your bucket or container of paint. And what we're going to start doing, the moment the stream comes flowing out of the bottom of the cup, we'll start timing to see how long it takes before there's a break in the stream. One of the most useful references with viscosities, in general, if a material flows at 20 to 30 seconds in a Zahn 2 cup, it'll spray easily with an HVLP spray gun. So you can use that as a baseline reference point if you're using an HVLP gun. If it's much higher or lower than that, if it's much higher, you'll potentially need to thin it. If it's lower, you just will have a very easy time spraying it, but want to control the volume of material. So here we go, out of the material it comes, and then as you can see, I have a stream flowing, and you can see in the top of the cup the material will drain. I'm also timing this on my phone to determine how long it's been until we start seeing the material stop flowing out of the cup. This is a very thick material. As you notice, it's not flowing very well. It would depend how I'd want to spray this. If I'm using an airless, this would probably work fine as is. But if I'm using a spray gun, whether it's HVLP, even conventional, I might need to thin it based on how thick it's showing me here. All right, so we know this is too thick, and actually in this case, this Zahn cup wouldn't be well suited to measure this. As you can tell, there's the stream isn't consistent. To really use a viscosity cup, you need a consistent flow of the stream, and what we're looking for is a break in the stream's flow. So we'll thin this, and we'll review to show what it will look like. We're also going to show a brief second of what this looks like sprayed out, so you can see how much viscosity plays into how material sprays. All right, so that material we just tested in the Zahn is running over 55 seconds in the Zahn 2. And like we mentioned, that's usually beyond what can usually spray well with the HVLP, or conventional as well if you're looking for a fine finish. We'll show you here, we have about 12 pounds of fluid pressure on the pot, which is pretty limited and not giving me excessive paint. I have a 1/4 tip on the gun, and then I'm using about 35 pounds of air. When it gets to the gun, it's around 30. So we're right about where this HVLP gun's meant to run. What you'll see with our viscosity being as thick as it is I get a lot of splatter and pretty poor results. Like I mentioned, when paint's too thick, with an air spray gun especially, you won't get good atomization or breakup. Now you may be able to spray it with an airless with a little better results, but that's why a viscosity cup can help you. It can help you prepare to choose the right equipment. It can verify that your paint's been mixed correctly, and we're going to show you that now. We'll add some thinner to this material to get it closer to where it would be to spray well with this gun. We're also going to show you a conventional gun with the same material, just to show you the little bit better breakup we might achieve. This is the same paint, same viscosity, nothing thinned, conventional cap. Again, we can see it's very thick and orange peely. We're not getting a good finish. So we'll go ahead and thin this down and show you what the results are. We're going to be using water as a water-based product, and we'll be aiming for 30 to 40 seconds in our Zahn 2 and show you the results. All right, so we tried it unthinned and we noticed the material wasn't giving us breakup and it didn't look good at all. We went ahead and put in 10 to 15% of thinner into the solution, and we'll go ahead and start the cup. Again, we start the cup full and we pull it out. Once it's out, we start a timer, as you can see here. What we're going to wait for is both the cup to get relatively near the end to empty out most of the way to the very bottom, where we'll start noticing a change in the stream. As you can see, the stream's very consistent and even right now. Eventually we'll see what we call a break in the stream, which is when we'll stop our timing, and that'll be considered how long the material ran in the cup. We can then use a chart that's available to determine what viscosity we're at. As I mentioned, usually in the 30-second range, 20 to 30 seconds is an ideal time for in a Zon 2 for HVLP spray. So we can notice the pattern starting to slow down, and there we got a break. So right at that point, we're about 40 seconds, 44 seconds. So what we'll do now is we'll show you what this looks like sprayed out, and from there we may need to thin slightly more to give you a good finish, but you'll know as we learn here. So as I mentioned, the material at this point is around 40 to 45 and is on 2. It's still on the little heavy end in our world for spraying typically, but we want to show you that we're getting a little closer where we'd want to be. So by no means is that going to be a car finish. You can see there's still some thick chunks, but compared to our earlier spray over here, we're getting a lot thinner. We're also going to show you conventional, so you can see the difference that'll make. So if you're not concerned with a car finish, maybe a general industrial finish, 40 seconds is not horrendous looking. But we'll thin it a little more so you can see kind of that final level. When we get down to that 20 to 30 second mark, you should see the finish is even more improved. Go ahead. All right, at this point we've thinned this paint about 20 to 25%. Before you thin a paint this far, you want to reference your tech sheet on a paint to make sure you're not over thinning it and compromising paint performance due to being it over thinned. So we'll go ahead and time it like we've done before. And now we start our timer. You can see a good solid stream. Cup's getting close to being empty, so I start watching for that break in my stream. Right there, I'm at about 19 seconds. That's actually right where we'd want to be for HVLP. We'll see how it sprays out. All right, so we thinned the material down quite a bit, 25% or so. We're at about 20 seconds and is on 2. This is about where an HVLP gun sprays well. With this particular material, it's a little over thinned. We're using it for demonstration. But you'll see we might have some issues with runs, and that's kind of the downside. If we over thin a material and we make it run too fast in a cup or just in general, it'll run as you apply it because it won't stick to the surface very well. So we'll show you what it looks like. You should see it breaks up a lot better compared to the other 2 times that we did some time tests in the cup. So you can see, compared to our other sprays, even though it's pretty good, it breaks up better. We do have issues with runs because it is too thin at this point, but that's why a viscosity cup can help you by making sure it's about right where it needs to be. Around 30 seconds this material probably wouldn't run and we'd have the finish that we needed. So that's how you use a Zon cup or a viscosity measuring cup. And then we'll go over some options of different cups so you can choose one that would work well for you in a moment.